Hello, and thanks for joining us in this live webcast. I'm Amber Larson, and I played the role of Sarah in Skeleton Creek, and I'm ready to answer questions. It was really cold, and it was a little scary, I have to admit. um, I have a really good story, actually. One of the artists that did some amazing sets for us went inside with me. It was, I think, the first or second night that I was out there. And so I was still kind of getting used to the whole thing. I didn't really know exactly what was going on. And I knew this is a really scary place because I could just feel it. But I didn't actually know any of the scary stories yet, which I can tell you about later if you want. But so I went in with, his name was Squire Broll. I went in with Squire, and we had a camera, I think. And there was two of us, so we shouldn't have been scared. But we were just going in to grab something, and nobody else was in there. And the dredge was a totally different place when nobody else was in there. Like, it was creaky and loud. Like, all the sounds you hear are totally real. And so we were, like, kind of creeping around. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there was just a person. And I swear I got, like, chills and got all hot and cold all at once and, like, froze. And Squire hid behind me, so I would have died if there was a ghost or something. But we found out it was just one of the crew. They had come in to get something they hadn't told us. So what was it like? It was terrifying sometimes. But it was really fun, too, especially, like, in the daytime when we could walk around. And there was a whole bunch of levels, and there were places that were kind of, like, off limits. But we got to go because we were part of the cast and crew. So it was really fun to explore. There was, like, writing on the walls from, like, when the dredge was actually being used. And there was all these, like, codes and stuff that I guess they used to have these big, like, I don't know what they were called, but, like, these big metal tools that they would actually use while the dredge was running. And they would do, like, Morse code or something on the metal so they could, like, talk to each other. And we could actually see where they had, like, written those codes. So that was pretty interesting. But overall, I would say I probably wouldn't go back there by myself at night. Well, first of all, yes, I am in the second book. Ryan is actually in the second book a lot more than the first book, which is kind of exciting because you don't really get to see Ryan that much. And it's kind of fun to see, like, how Sarah and Ryan interact because they're such good friends and they're so close. And you actually get to see him. He's kind of a baby. And so you kind of get to see him interacting with Sarah, who's all, like, brave, and I like to think she's really smart and tech savvy and stuff. So that's kind of fun. But I don't know, the first book ends pretty scary. So I think that the second book gets better. It gets more interesting because there's more people involved and you get to find out more about the ghosts. But I think getting right up to the end of book 2, it might get a little more scary. Yes, the dredge is real. It's a real place. You can go visit it, actually. I do. I really like playing Sarah. I kind of envisioned her as this independent girl who she grew up in this small town. And that's kind of like me. I live in a pretty small town, and I really like that. I know the idea of kind of knowing some of the people in town, but still wanting to kind of do some more exciting things that you can't maybe do in your town, or you think maybe there's something cooler about this place than anyone knows but no one wants to talk about. She has a way cooler town maybe because she has this really cool story that she gets to figure out. But it is really interesting. Actually, I got to play this part maybe because I make movies more than I'm in movies. I've actually never done anything with acting that much, but I have done a little bit with making film. And so it was really fun for me to be able to play a part where it was about a girl who makes videos, because I knew a little bit about that. So I actually, most of the time I didn't get to run the camera, but there was a couple times when I actually got to run the camera, so that was really exciting. So I did. I think I related to her pretty well. I took this class. It's called Filmmakers Boot Camp, which Jeffrey Townsend, who's the director, he does these really cool things called Filmmakers Boot Camp, and it's where kids and younger people get to make a small movie. And so I had done that, and so I had met Jeffrey and Sarah Konensberg, who is actually the cinematographer, director of photography. I guess that's her title. And so they were casting and like having people audition, and I think it was Sarah who saw me one day, and she was like, "Oh, Amber, you should come and try out for this." And I was just like, "Okay, if you want me to, I will, but I don't really know what I'm doing." So I auditioned like everybody else, and I made it. Well, I don't know exactly what you mean by a Skeleton Creek real. Like, I mean, I don't really know, like, if the story real. I mean, the place is real. And actually, when we were there, we went and ate in this little, like, diner, kind of. And the local people in the town were telling us, like, all these really scary stories about the dredge. Like, they would tell us that when people used to go out there, they would hear, like, a splash off the back of the dredge, like, in the middle of the night at, like, a certain time every night or something. And I never heard it, but I was always like freaking out that I was going to. I don't know, like I guess what I would say is my gut feeling is there could really be a story like that. And Joe Bush is real, so I don't know if maybe there's even more of a story than Pat Carmen wrote about, or not. But if you go to where the dredge is right now and you ask the people who've like lived in the town, they'll definitely tell you some stories about Joe Bush. Yes. Well, I should say we are friends now. Maybe this is how movies work too. I don't really know. But I didn't really know him before we started shooting. But then you end up spending a whole bunch of time together, and we ended up being pretty good friends, yeah. Okay, I loved reading the book, but I didn't really get that into like asking Pat about all the different reasons that he did the things he did. I was really focused on just figuring out who the character was, and like I was really more interested in the movie side of it. In real life, I don't think, well, maybe I just like to think I'm not as dramatic as maybe Sarah had to be, but it was really interesting to try to get into somebody's head and figure out like what really made her scared and what really made her sad. And I don't know if you've already seen everything from the first book or not, but the last scene of the first book was really fun. And I actually, when I first read it, I was really scared about it because I didn't think I could do it well enough. But then when I really got into the story and started trying to do it and have that really scared, almost crying scene, it was really way more fun than I thought it would be. I enjoyed that part. I guess I am allowed to say that I'm glad you got my notes, but I can't really say anything else about it. So, yeah, if you got them, it's cool. I think it's really cool. Um, I have always liked reading a lot, and then as I've just gotten a little bit older, I've started to like movies more, and I think it's great because I don't know, it's two of the coolest things that I know of. So it's like you can take your parents' camera and like start doing stuff already, and sometimes I like doing that just for fun. So I think it's really cool that there's something that shows how much kids can do. Let's see. Well, I remember I was reading a lot when I was a little bit younger, and I loved historical fiction. So books that were like about something that was real or a person that was real, but then the author made it more personal, I guess, and made it more of a fun story. So, wow, I can't remember some of the books that I loved, but um, I like history a lot, so it's more interesting to me. I mean, there's some really good, like, I'm sure science fiction books and stuff like that, which I know I have brothers that are into those. But I really like history, and so it's interesting for me to learn about real events and things that have really happened. So this was actually kind of interesting for me because it's well, it's supposed to be really novel, but it is based on something that's very historical, and so being able to go to the dredge and see a real place and see what the dredge did to all the land around, it was just crazy, and it was something that I'd never learned about before. And so books are so cool because they can show you about things that you'd never be able to experience. You can't like go to India or go to Africa, but you can really read about them if you have a good author. You can really experience them, I should say. I can't actually tell you where I am. I'm okay though. I'm safe. I don't really know. I had so much fun with this project and I learned a lot. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I wasn't really planning on being an actress, so I don't have an agent or anything. So I don't know. We'll see, I guess. I would like to continue to pursue um, making films, especially I think short films. I guess that's all I've really done right now, but um, I'm not sure about feature films, but I think there's a lot that can be said about independent films and small short films, and I would like to be able to continue to do that. I have a lot to learn still. I'm glad that I'm friends with Sarah and Jeffrey. Um, I like to think Jeffrey's famous. Jeffrey knows famous people. I don't know. I don't think so. It was one kind of cool thing about this, actually. Skeleton Creek is really cool, and I'm really excited that so many people know about it and are really enjoying it. And like I've never signed an autograph before. Like it's kind of crazy to me, but one cool thing about it is even though it is this really big thing, it was made by only a few people. And so we didn't have a bunch of people from Hollywood really making it. We just had, like a good-sized crew with some really talented people. So there wasn't anyone super famous on our crew. Yeah, I didn't actually know Patrick Carmen before this book. I'd heard about him, and I'd seen some of his other books, but I had never met him until this book. And then he was there for, some of the shoot filming, so I really got to know him. And when we were on location at the dredge, he saw how scary the dredge was and everything. So, yeah. Actually, yes. The scenes that I got to film or actually hold the camera, operate the camera, are in the second book. So, and I believe it's near the end of the book too. Hi, Mick. Well, I kind of had to because the book and the movie kind of go together, and so I had to understand what was going on. So, yeah. And people have asked me which book I think is better, and I love how the story starts in the first book, but I actually like the second book better. So, sorry, you have to wait for that, but I really liked playing Sarah, I think, because of the things that are different. I like that she's a filmmaker, and I like that she's really creative, but I am not nearly as brave as Sarah. In real life, there's no way I'd be crawling around in the dredge. I don't know, it's too scary to me. And so I really kind of liked that about her because she was so brave, and she's so independent. Like I think that I'm independent, but I don't know that I'd be dragging my best friend around to do things that get him in trouble with like his parents and the police and stuff. It was great. The people were really fun. I feel like I'm close to all of them now. I don't know, maybe that's how movies are. You just feel like you become friends with everyone, but it was kind of neat. I feel like I have a whole bunch more friends now that went through this huge experience with me. So they're all pretty cool people. All the people in the credits in the back of the book, we had some good times together. I think what was most challenging that I didn't expect is I would read through the script and I would kind of figure out how I thought it was supposed to go, how the scene was supposed to be, and what Sarah was thinking, what she was feeling. And so then we'd do like 2 or 3 takes, and Jeffrey would be like, just try this one little thing. And I would just be like, oh, really? So then I would try it a little bit, and then sometimes he'd be like, no, let's go back and try it the other way again. So that's something, I think that's just how movies are. Like, you just have to try it a whole bunch of different ways, and sometimes you tweak little things. But until you really make a movie, I don't think you realize how many times you do that. Like, one of those scenes we might have done like 50 times or something, just to make sure that we got it the right way. And not all of them were like that. Some of them went really fast, but especially the scenes in the second book you'll see, we had a lot more characters. And so if one person forgets their line, or if one person does the line a little bit wrong, then we have to do the whole thing over. And that was something that I didn't expect, and it was kind of challenging, especially if it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, because we had to be dark out, and we're all in the dredge, and we're freezing, and I have like 3 layers of socks on, and so that was kind of hard sometimes. Oh, I don't know of any book signings in Canada. I can ask Pat and see what his schedule's like, but I don't really get to pick where the book signings are, so we'll have to see if he has any like that. Yes, it is. We have a bookstore near where I live. It's called Book and Game. And if you're willing to purchase the book through that store, since it's near where I live, we'll figure out a way so that I can sign them, and then you can get them from there. Bye, Desi and Jess. Bye, everyone. Thank you for talking. It was fun.